Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of For the Girls, brought to you by Relationship Restored. Today we're talking about red flags. A great topic, because red flags are the thing that tells us when this is not the right person, this is not the right situation, and sometimes we stay anyways. So let's just jump right in and talk about what is a red flag. And there's multiple. So like when you guys think of red flags, what do you think of?
There's so many of them, but a red flag to me is like someone does something and your eyes go, what the heck? Like, I mean, I guess this is part of learning a person.
Yeah.
And I feel like not all red flags are like, ooh, you know what I'm saying? But there's some very big ones. But the definition of a red flag is something that makes you proceed with caution.
I like that.
Yes, I like that. It's
Something
hard
that
to top
person does, that person has said, that makes you proceed with caution.
Yeah.
Now, my husband had red flags at the beginning. I don't know about y'all, but you know, there's things my husband did that was like, whoa, a red flag. But I think there's some that might be bigger red flags than others. So I think we should kind of dissect
For sure.
those.
I mean, a red flag, to Angel's point, something that would give you pause. Like, I don't know about that. And it's going to be different for everybody, right? Yeah. So like my red flags are going to be totally different from yours, but an action or something about that person's personality, character, that would be like, I'm not sure about that. Like, that's not sitting well with me.
Yeah.
I can't get with that. I don't like that. I've seen that before, and I didn't like how it felt. Those types of things are what I would consider red flags.
Yeah, I agree. What I was going to say is I think of a red flag as anything that somebody does that doesn't align with what you want out of your person. So anything that's not in alignment with what you ultimately want. Now, when we realize, right, like we know what the red flags could potentially be, you really don't know until it happens. No one sits around and creates a list of red flags.
Like, hey, these are all of my flaws.
Yeah. But you'll know when it happens. So when you notice a red flag, what should you do? And I want to give my answer first. I think the very first thing, because I think it's the only thing that you really could do, is communicate. Because the person who does whatever the red flag is doesn't know it's a red flag, or it's not something that you would desire or want out of them unless you communicate and say, hey, you know, I noticed you did X, Y, and Z. I don't like that because it reminds me of this. Or and really, when I think of red flags, it also could be like triggers. Like red flags are things that trigger you to feel ill about something.
Yes.
So I'm going to give a really quick example, and then I want to hear what you guys think to do when a red flag happens. But big red flag for me, it's very small, it's a very subtle thing, but to me it equates to cheating, is when you're with a man and he picks up his phone, he does whatever he does, but every time he's around you, he always puts the phone
We've talked about
face
this
down.
in a previous episode. That was me too.
That to me is a trigger, and it's a red flag because it's like the only reason someone would want to put their phone down is for two reasons. One, they don't want to be distracted, and so they don't want to see the phone going off. But if you're picking up your phone the whole time that I'm with you, it's not because you don't want to be distracted, because if you don't want to be distracted, you would stop picking up your phone. So that's not the reason. The second reason why would be that you don't want someone to see what is on that screen of the phone, so you're flipping it upside down. So when someone does that, it's a big no-no to me. Dre has never done that, so I've never had to like mention anything, but if he were to ever do that, I would say, hey babe, from just previous relationships, that to me was always a sign that someone was hiding something from me. Makes me uncomfortable. Not saying that you're hiding anything, but for my comfort, just don't ever do that. And so I think the first thing that you should do when you notice a red flag is to just immediately communicate.
Agree with that.
What about you guys?
I mean, I absolutely agree with that. Let me step back, actually. I think it depends on the situation that you're in and who is presenting the red flag. So in another episode, we talk about hoe phase.
Yeah.
If you are in a phase where you're just out having fun and you are conscious that this person that you are experiencing this red flag with is someone that's not going to be in your life long term, then what the fuck does it matter?
Yeah,
you know, like just let it go because they're not going to be there long term anyway.
But then in that case, it's not a red flag because then you wouldn't have expectations for those things to matter.
I think it could be, right? Because you don't know, right? Well, I mean, yeah. Yes. Okay. I could see where we're coming from with that. So, but I think that's one thing. If you feel like if you personally feel like this is a red flag for me, I don't even want to entertain this person. Because even if you're just entertaining them, they could be around for a month, 2 months, 3 months. But if you know it's a red flag, then you're just be like, okay, well, I don't want to entertain them. I'm going to go find someone else to entertain.
Makes sense.
Okay. So that's something to take into consideration. However, if you are seriously dating someone, I absolutely agree with Bree. You need to communicate. Yeah. One example that I'll give about me and my relationship, one red flag that I noticed early on in my relationship is, so my husband, his natural reaction to something is anger when something's not going as he would like it to go. Mm-hmm. Right. He expresses himself with anger. He gets very angry. I mean, he would punch things, like punch the elevator. He would turn into like the Hulk. It's not a very pleasant experience to be around Shane when he's angry. Mm-hmm. That was a red flag for me. And it still is a red flag for me. I'm not an angry person. I am very happy. I'm very positive. I'm very bubbly. I don't like bad energy around me. I don't tolerate it. That I do not tolerate it. So when I recognized that red flag in my husband, initially, because I struggled with my communication skills in the beginning of our relationship, I didn't communicate that with him, and it bubbled up in me. And I started to, when he would get angry, I started to resent him. But that was a flaw on my end because I didn't properly communicate that with him. When I did communicate how unattractive it was to me when he got angry, how embarrassing it was to me when he got angry, how I didn't feel secure. Because what if he got angry with our daughter because she's a toddler and she's going to do toddler shit and you get angry at her? How are you going to react? Like, I didn't feel comfortable. So I had to communicate that with my husband. And initially, it's hard to receive criticism like that. Yeah. But he knew that was a flaw that he had. Yeah. So because he loved me, because we were in a space where we were very serious about each other, he did receive it. He took it back and he does great now. He doesn't resort to anger a lot. He has learned to let that shit go and just react in a different way.
Yeah. So similar, that was a red flag for me and Sean. So you guys know my husband. He's chill, calm, cool.
I could not imagine him angry
at all.
Oh my gosh. So, and it's only really with people that he loves. Like, and so that's why we've worked through this a lot. In the beginning, that was a red flag. When he would get angry with me, he would get very loud, say not nice things. And what did we talk about in previous episodes? Not working through it. I would just walk away.
Yep, me too.
You know, I'm not dealing with it. You know, and we communicated it. I communicated that to him, and he went to therapy. Since we've been married, we'll get in arguments now, y'all. Sean does this thing where he'll lecture. He'll keep talking because he's so quiet. But when he has something to say, my man's gonna say it. However, he's taken away the anger, the not nice words, all of that. So to give a different example from Cece's, because our husbands are similar in that. A red flag for me very early on when we were dating is when we would go out, Sean would see people he knew everywhere. He was from this area, and he wouldn't introduce me.
He wouldn't?
No.
Oh, that's a good example.
I was like, red fucking flag.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I didn't say it the first few times because, hey, we're just dating, like, you know. Even when in the beginning of the relationship, I didn't say it because I didn't know how to communicate it. But eventually, I told him, I was like, Sean, when we go out and you see someone, you don't say, hey, this is my girlfriend, Angela. Mm-hmm. And then he went on to further explain he has social anxiety. So when he's in situations where he's talking to people or meeting people, he wasn't able to kind of organize all of that. Like some men, some women are really good in social settings. Like, hey, this is my friend Bree.
Yeah.
Hey, this is such and such. Hey, you want to come over here? When Sean sees someone, he's focused. He's trying to get through the conversation.
He's like, get in and get out.
That's totally him.
That's him. I didn't know that. I thought my man was trying to hide me in the beginning.
Yeah.
Red flag.
Yeah.
So,
and once you communicate
once
that,
I
then he was
communicate to
intentional
him,
about doing it.
Now, you can still see him like intentionally. He'll see someone he knows. This is my wife, Angela.
Hello, this is my wife.
Like, that's my husband, 500%. So, and like now I know that since we've communicated through that.
Yeah.
I didn't know he had social anxiety in the beginning of our relationship. I thought he was just quiet and I was the talkative one. But no, it's something he's worked through with his therapist as well. So, but I want to flip it. What red flags did we give off to our men? Because I know I gave off.
I don't have any.
Well,
no.
first of all, what you guys both said, what your husband's was the opposite for Dre and I. I was the
you're
angry
red flag.
one.
Yes.
Yes.
Bree had
so-
the anger problem.
But the thing is I didn't have an anger problem and was just like, this is how I live my life. I was like, hey, Dre, I'm Bree, your girlfriend. I'm very aware I have like some anger issues. So, I might throw some things. Don't worry, if I break it, I'll pay for it. And it's like when I drink, it gets worse. So this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
But so I think first, my anger. Second, finances. Like I was great at making money, not great with deciding how to handle the money or how to budget the money.
Right.
I was bad at communicating. Like I shut down. I don't want to talk.
That was me. That was his red flag for me.
Yeah, it's like leave me. Wait,
I was
don't
super
talk
defensive.
to me, or I'm gonna be really mean. Things are gonna come out of my mouth that I don't really mean.
Yeah.
I would say those are and I said the drinking thing that was tied to anger, but drinking. So drinking, anger, lack of communication, and then my lack of being financially responsible. I think
I had very similar ones.
Yeah.
When Shane and I got together, I remember him telling me, I will not marry you until you are out of debt.
Oh, I remember this.
That shit pissed me off, but it's okay. But I understood why he said it.
Yeah.
After a while. Because I was in $60,000 of credit card debt.
Right.
I had a shopping problem and I just swipe. And credit card debt is the worst type of debt to have. Yeah. So for me, it was definitely like my spending in the beginning of our relationship, because I was transitioning from being the fun party girl to now being in a serious committed relationship. He had to sit me down and talk to me also about my drinking, about my lack of checking in, about my lack of consideration, that, I can't be out here moving any type of way. Yeah. I now represent both of us, right? Mm-hmm. So my lack of consideration, that could have been that was a red flag in the beginning as well. Also, I did not communicate. I was a runner, you guys. I ran from conflict. I ran from hard conversations because that's how I always dealt with things. When I was in my singleness hoe phase, I didn't have to answer to anybody. Yeah. It was just me. Yeah. And if I didn't like something, I would just move on. Yeah. So that was a lot of the red flags that I think my husband had to deal with in the beginning.
It was the same for me. I'm very defensive. Like, it was so hard for me to hear him because I just felt like I was the right one. Like, no, you're wrong. Like, and the reason I would feel like that, because in our arguments, it was the anger that he had. So because of all these mean things you said, at this point, I'm right. And to him, it was hard for him to communicate that red flag to me because the initial part of our issues, we had to work through the anger because the words were so mean in the beginning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I brought up asking you guys, what were y'all's red flags for y'all's husbands, to make sure that our viewers know that yeah, when you're looking for a person, there's red flags, but you should also kind of be aware of what red flags you're giving off, and being able to receive that you might have a red flag and to communicate with that person about them. Now, moving on from that, when are too many red flags too many?
Well, before we jump into that, because I don't want people to get confused.
Okay.
Because what we just mentioned are like baggage, personality traits.
Right.
It's like these are negative things that we basically have as people. Those aren't necessarily red flags. Like the red flag is the thing that happens that makes you think of something worse going on.
No, you're right.
So when we're talking, and like perfect example, right, is like with the drinking thing. If that is a habit that I have that needs to be broken. A red flag of that would be if Dre comes home at 5 p.m. and he sees like bottles open and like I'm like, oh, it's like Dre. He's like, this is a red flag. Like this is telling me that this is what I'm gonna have to look forward to. It's not necessarily drinking that's the problem. So when we're talking about red flags, we got to make sure we're addressing the actual action that happened that is making you think or conjure up worse scenarios in your head. So what was the question you just asked?
I said my question was, when are the red flags too bad? Like too much?
Like what are the red flags that you should kind of like?
Yeah, that's where I'm going. Like I think for me, just in relationships in general, and this is when I got to my husband, this is the one red flag he didn't give me was effort. You know, like lack of effort. I think to me, and I'll ask you guys in a second what y'all's biggest red flag, but to me, lack of effort. You know what I'm saying? You communicate all these things to this person, even your red flags, their red flags, and there's no effort to I'm not saying you're going to fix all the issues. There's no effort to fix anything. Or even, no, let's scale it back. Like, there's no effort to show your commitment to this person. There's no effort to show this person, I want you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's a big red flag. And I think a lot of men show that to women early. Because we brought this up in an earlier episode. Yeah. When a man wants you, he wants you.
Yep.
And so now I'm talking, I'm sorry, I hope I'm not going too far off because I know I went here and I'm bringing it back.
I wanted to scale back anyway.
Yes, I'm bringing it back. Like, I'm going back to like, thinking about, you know, giving advice to a single friend. And she's like, yeah, he only calls me during this period.
Yep.
He only wants me to come to his house. I really wanted him to come to my birthday, but he had to do this, that, and the third. You know,
red flag.
He has a daughter, but didn't invite me to any of her celebrations, but he wants me to be involved in her life. It's been a year. I haven't met his parents.
Red flag.
Yes. Now this is the core of red
this
flags.
Is like, okay, like
it's like the
at
signs.
this point,
Ooh, I have
like,
a list. I have a list.
You know what I'm saying? Like at this point, it's the effort. Like he is showing you. This man is showing you with his red flags that he does not want you.
Yes.
And I feel like it's so basic. It's so basic. I feel like when a man wants you, he shows
it's
you.
Very simple. It
very simple.
He shows you.
Men are very simple, really.
Like it's real simple. It's not, oh well, you know, he's running this business, so his time is like insane.
Oh girl, please. Red
That's
flag.
what I'm saying. Like when a man wants you, he could be the busiest
100%.
millionaire on this earth.
Yes.
He's booking that flight to come back to you.
Yes, 100%.
So I just think that's a huge red flag. Like the amount of effort is shown through the red flag.
Yes.
Like,
so, I mean, the list of red flags that I have, to Angela's point, one is a man that's not willing to prove it. I had an ex situation where one of the things I always said to him was, prove it. Because this dude would talk such a good game about what he was going to do or what he wanted to do or how he was gonna blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, well, prove it. And the motherfucker never proved it. He never backed it up. There was no actions
red flag
to what he was saying. Red flag.
I think that's the easiest red flag is if a man's actions don't align with his words. Red flag.
Red flag.
Red flag.
Another one, and this is for all of my girls who are in long distance relationships or who seek out men that don't live in the same city as them. Sis,
She's about to break it down. She started with the sis. She's about to break it down, y'all.
Okay, first of all, I'll give an example and why this was a red flag. I was talking to a dude who was from Chicago. When I met him, he lived in Chicago. A few weeks into us talking, he moved to Columbus because his children and his baby mother lived in Columbus. Okay, cool. Well, we were supposed to go on a vacation together and we had everything all lined up. It comes the day of the vacation and he hits me up day of, y'all, I am at the airport.
Stop.
And he says, oh my gosh, I won't be able to make it. He gave me some bullshit excuse that his grandmother was sick. Long story short, he left me hanging. He was supposed to book the hotel, didn't fucking book the hotel. I was like, okay, well, at least, let me know what hotel or put my name on the reservation. He was like, oh yeah, sorry, I never got around to booking the hotel. Girl. And so, obviously red flag, right? But, so all that happened, and then the next few days go by, and I'm like asking him, so like, how's your grandmother? And he was like, she's all right. And I'm like, this motherfucker ain't shit. So what I think what happened was
he showed you.
No, he lived with his baby mother.
You didn't have to do much to figure that one out. Yeah.
Right, obviously. So a red flag is if you are choosing to talk to a man that has children, you have to be very clear about where him and his baby mother stand in their relationship, right? So navigating that, like if he's super secretive about, bringing you around and y'all been talking for a while and he hasn't introduced you to his kids or talked about his baby mother, like he tries to keep that a secret, red flag. Another red flag is, to your point about the busy man.
He's an entrepreneur, so, he can't see me during these hours.
That's
but
bullshit.
Between like 11 a.m. and 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. he's available.
He has autonomy over his time. Okay, sis? So if he can't squeeze you in his busy schedule to just do a quick FaceTime, like, hey, boo, I was just thinking about you, red flag.
People make time for what
they want
to
make time. Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, girl, I can go on and on.
These are a few big ones. So, like, if you are calling a man and he only responds back with text messages,
red flag.
That is a big one because normally he's with another girl.
Red flag.
That's why he can't answer the phone.
Red flag.
FaceTime. If you FaceTime a man and he does not answer the FaceTime but immediately texts you back, like, sorry, I'm doing blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
It's like, it's things like that. It's like, pay attention to the small things. Social media at a certain point can become a red flag in terms of, if you guys are in a committed relationship and you guys are not posting each other, you have to have a conversation about that.
In this day and age,
because it's like,
sure.
why? Like, everyone puts their life on social.
Yeah.
If we're in a committed relationship, we need to have a conversation. If there's for some reason that we just never take pictures or put ourselves on our stories, which people do, like if you're only posting your person on your close friends, I think that's a problem because why?
Right.
Like that means that there's an alternative there on one of your parts. So like social media is a big red flag. These are all really good examples. I think this is before we jump into the question that you had, like, what red flags do you deal with and which ones do you not deal with? I think first you have to communicate and then see how they receive the communication. Because if you say, hey, this is a red flag for me, I don't like what it feels like. Like, well, how are we going to deal with this moving forward? If that person adjusts and shows they care and they make a conscious effort to
now
change,
it's a green flag.
Then then it's like, well, now this is just something that we're dealing with together. But that doesn't change the fact that it was a red flag, though. So you have the opportunity to, one, communicate and see how they react, and then two, if you communicate and they don't change and the red flag continues, how do you know when enough is enough, and like which red flags are dealable and which red flags are like hit the door?
If he's the busy entrepreneur and you tell him, hey, I need this, like if you could give me this during this like time, that will show me that you are willing to commit to something more. And they don't do it, you know what I'm saying?
Hit the door. They don't want what you want.
They don't want what you want, and you have to at some point accept it.
I think it's always time to walk away when you have tried to communicate to this person that you are not feeling heard, seen, loved. in the way that you would like to feel heard, seen, or loved, and they're not changing, walk away. If you are constantly crying over this man because he's not changing, walk away. If you are doubting your own self-worth, walk away. If you feel ugly or less than around this man, walk away. If you don't feel like he's supporting you in the way that you'd like to be supported, and you have communicated this time and time again, and he's not making any initiative to change, walk away.
I think the biggest green flag is sacrifice. All that stuff a man could sacrifice. He could sacrifice something for you in all those examples you just gave, and the green flag would offset the red flag.
Yes.
And it might be difficult for him, but if he does it, it's a sacrifice for him. And you can take that red flag and put it down.
Mm-hmm.
But if he's not, and you said all those things, the proof is in the pudding at this point.
Yeah, girl. I mean, at the end of the day, then now you're just making a decision. Yeah. And you're making a poor decision.
And I think what's really difficult about red flags is you see them, you know that they're there. Your friends may tell you that they're there. You know, your family might tell you that they're there. But time invested almost makes you kind of skim over or look past these red
which
flags.
I think is wild.
Bullshit.
Because you feel like you put so much time into it. You think that,
the
oh
more
my
that
gosh.
you keep investing, the worse you're gonna feel. But
Exactly.
I have a very simple solution for when to know like enough is enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I had talked about this before and people had like mixed feelings on it, and I think it's because I didn't explain it enough. So I'm gonna explain what I mean by this. If you're at the point where you're creating a pros and cons list about why you should or shouldn't stay with somebody, it's time to go.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I say this is I wasn't saying that someone shouldn't have flaws. That's not what it's about. If you're at the point where you're debating if you should be with someone, the answer is no. Because if a person is good for you, if a person truly cares about you, shows up for you and gives you what you need, you're not going to get to the point where you're questioning whether or not you should be with them. You would only get to the point of asking yourself, what can I do to make this problem that we're going through better? That's
basic.
a totally
It's
different
basic.
scenario.
I just feel like he's going to do what he needs to do to be with you if he wants you.
Yes.
And if you're questioning
simple.
that, Mamacita, look me in my eyes.
Dude,
It's the most simplest 1 + 1 = 2 equation.
Okay.
I can't break it down any further. And I think, and you know, we're not relationship experts, but my experience has been, he shows you, the man shows you what he wants.
Yep.
He shows you. He does not have to tell you, oh, I'm going to marry you someday. I'm going to do
what?
this. I'm going to take you out on the fancy dinner.
And never fucking does it. Yeah.
But the man who really wants you, it's not a question.
He's going to prove it, girl.
It happens. Like,
it happens.
It's simple. It feels easy to the point where you're like, what in the hell is this?
Absolutely. But and you know what? Unfortunately, a lot of women, I have done it too. So I'm not just picking on.
I know what you're about to say.
A lot of women stay in these relationships or situationships, even though they see the red flags and they're conscious of them because of what the relationship, the perceived value that the relationship brings them. Either it's material things, the perception of appearance, like this is a wealthier man, or he has a lot of access, or he's going places, or he has potential, and I want to be around for the ride, or I can change him. Like
I think that's one of the main reasons why people say, they're like, but he loves me. He's gonna change. He's working on it.
Girl,
you cannot change a man. A man has to want to change himself.
And you know, I know women who's like gotten pregnant, and they're like, this is gonna make him do this and the third.
Oh, girl, please! A baby will not keep a man around.
It gets worse
okay,
once the baby comes out.
It gets worse.
You know,
I think a good rule of thumb for a red flag is 3 strikes and you're out. Meaning, if you see a red flag, you communicate that, hey, I've noticed this. Boom, that's strike 1. Strike 2 is when you don't see that they're making a conscious effort to change. You re-communicate and say, hey, like this, I already communicated this once. This is the last time I want to mention it. If you keep showing me that it's X, Y, and Z, like, you know, this isn't going to work. Let it happen again, and you need to be out. There's no reason why you should have to. It's just like when you have a job. You get a verbal warning, you get written up, and then you're out of here. Like, make sure when you're dating that you're treating your life like a job requirement. What is this person doing? How are they showing up to work? Are they bringing the essential things? Do they have their laptop? Are they on time? Are they staying after hours to put in extra credit?
I know that's right, girl.
What does it look like? Like, why are you continuing to employ somebody and to give them all the benefits of you and
your time
what
invested?
you offer?
Like, your time,
when
you're
they
not
can't
getting
show
that
up for
back.
you.
Oh, girl. Never.
You're not getting that back. So if we've talked about the different types of red flags, obviously at this point, but if it's those real basic ones that you just said, I just said, come on. Like at this point, now,
it's you, sis.
You're the red flag.
You're the red flag.
Cece said it for me. You know what I'm saying? You're the red flag at this point. And at that point, you accept it and you be happy with it. But are you really happy?
Are you really
with
happy?
it?
And I think Cece brought up the things that should make you aware, like if enough is enough, where, you know, I mean, if you're crying, like if a dude has you crying more than you're smiling, that's a problem.
That's the worst.
If your friends are like begging you to leave this person, it's time to go. If you, again, are questioning, if you're putting in so much effort that you're sitting down with a paper and pencil and you are writing the pros and cons of why you should stay, why you should go, like leave that situation.
If you're changing your goals.
Yeah.
So that this man can fit within what you want. Red flag.
Yep.
Prime example.
Yep.
I want to get married. He doesn't. And you're changing and all of a sudden you're saying,
Like,
well, maybe I don't really want to get married.
Honey.
Like it's so 1 + 1 = 2 at this point for me at this point. And it really, I've been through it. You've been through it, and it hurts. And I just want to know that all women are worth it to the point where you can get what you want.
Yes.
You have to recognize these red flags. You know, time invested it's important. Like, stop putting your time into somebody who's showing you what they are, what they want. It's so important because you're wasting your time. You're taking yourself off the market, and you could be blocking your blessing at the same time.
Oh, yes. Come on, blocking blessings. We don't want that. We don't block blessings around here, honey.
And I know it's so hard to see. It's so hard to see when you're in it. I know it, guys. I know it. When you're in it, it is so hard to see. And your friends are trying to pull you out. You're praying. You're writing it down. Like, I know it's so hard, but it's so basic. It's so basic, and it's just it's you who has to pull yourself out at that point.
And you know, there's such a like empowering feeling of finding your voice. And I think a lot of times when women were dating and we notice these red flags, instead of just saying how we feel, we take it, we put it inside, we continue to date them, we continue to do our extra things, like really make sure we look good, make sure you're having good sex, make sure you're being supportive, and then you're still feeling this little inside voice saying things even though you're not speaking up. The moment that you start to let your inner voice start to come out, you're going to notice the true colors of the person that you're dealing with in dating. When I stopped suppressing my inner voice and started to just say what I was thinking and listen to my gut, that's when I was able to notice a man for what he really was. And once you do it enough, you get comfortable to know that you're not going to go into that next relationship ever putting your little voice to the side, because our little voice could be God. It could be your internal instincts. It could be the thing that you know you're feeling, you're just too afraid to say. And once you let it out, you're going to feel so empowered. And so for those women out there, if you are dealing with a person and you feel a way, you need to let it out. And if you don't feel comfortable or safe letting it out, that's not your person.
That's a red flag.
Very big red flag.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
That's huge. I feel like at this point we're doing a campaign.
I know. We're like team no flags.
Team no flags. And it's like it's way, I know I've heard it's complicated. No,
It's not that complicated. It's not that complicated.
Boo.
You're choosing to make it complicated.
There are things in relationships that are complicated. Please don't get us wrong.
Of course.
But this right
simple.
here,
It's what we're talking about right
it
here.
is 1 + 1
Okay.
equals 2. And it's not 1 + 1 = 3. 1 squared plus this.
Right.
No, it is 1 + 1 = 2 with this. It's he shows you. He shows you.
Wait, I just want to say this one red flag because I caught somebody on this. When you're very early on in dating, if a man never calls you by your name, if it's always baby, boo, girl.
Does he even know your name?
Yes, like that is a real.
That is a big one.
Like,
Sir, do you?
And not that they don't know your name. Obviously, they know your name, but it's that they know so many names at the same time they're trying to keep up with that they'd rather call you baby because they don't want to call you Brittany.
They don't want to slip up and call you Jessica.
Ashley. Yes.
Oh,
so that's
a good one, Bree.
You know?
That's a good one.
I hope someone
someone's
heard that.
Yeah,
and they needed it.
that's a good one.
Call
That's
you
a
by
good
your
one.
name, baby. It's especially early on.
I used to do that.
Nobody does
that,
right?
I used to do that. Super toxic.
And it's different once you're in like a committed relationship. Obviously, your person's gonna call you little pet names. But if you're on date 1, 2, and 3, and he's never called you by your name, and it's always baby, and it's like very smooth, it's like you know what that nigga doing, or you should know.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, now you know.
Hey.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for all of you out there, if you are experiencing red flags, use your voice, communicate. If they do not show up, it's time to hit the door. There is a man out there or woman who is going to love you and treat you
feel
how
so much
you deserve.
easier too.
Yes.
Yeah,
It doesn't feel so hard.
It's not that hard.
Relationships
It's really
are
not.
hard. Don't get me wrong, but this part right here is
easy.
It's easy.
Yeah.
Like and he shows you. He shows you. She shows you. It's like just. It's. I wish I could bring y'all to my pre-K 4 classroom. Put it on the whiteboard at this point. It is
Simple.
so simple at this point.
Well, ladies, that was red flags for us. Let's cheers to all of the individuals who have watched this video and can now determine their red flags and speak up when they notice it. Cheers, my girls.
Cheers, babies.